Harihi Om. Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. Tat Purushaya Vitmahe Vakratundhaya Dhimahi Dhanno Dhandhi Prachodayat. Om Gajananam Mahakayam Vignarajam Vinayakam Vishvesham Vishvashaksham Ganeshayam Namo Namaha. Om Gurud Brahma Gurud Vishnu Gurud Devo Maheshwaraha Gurud Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Gurave Sarva Lokhanam Visaje Pavaroginaha Nidaye Sarva Vidyanam Sri Dakshinamurthaye Namaha. Harihi Om Tat Sat Sri Sarveshwararphanamastu. Yogena Chittasya Padena Vacham Malam Sarirasya Cha Vaidyakena Yopankarotam Pravaram Muninam Pathanjalim Pranjaliranatosmi Abahu Purushakaram Shankachakra Sidharinam Sahasrasirisham Shvetam Pranamami Pathanjalim. Harihi Om Tat Sat Sri Yogishwararphanamastu. Anyada Sharanam. Sai Ram, and welcome to week 11, where we are looking at verses 127 to 140, and we are in the third book of Samadhipada, right? So I hope in these 11 weeks, not only you're just listening to what I'm saying about the Yoga Sutras and giving you the messages in a very diluted way, but you're also trying to enhance your own sadhana by, engaging in the practice. At least you have started to regulate or regularize your breathing, because that is the first step, right, in going into the greater sciences of the different planes of consciousness within the Yoga Sutras, right? So if you haven't regulated, it's just like the koshas, you have the pancha koshas, right? You cannot go to the deeper koshas if you haven't mastered the outer kosha. So the first kosha is Annamaya kosha, then Manonmaya kosha, then Pranamaya kosha, then Vijnanamaya kosha, then only Anandamaya kosha. So if you haven't controlled and mastered and regulated the Annamaya kosha, then you're not going to be regulating your Manonmaya kosha. If your body and your mind is not regulated, then your breathing is not going to be in sync. Pranamaya kosha won't be there. Then only you can go into Vijnanam, the immutable reality. Then you can tap into the Ananda, complete Nitya Ananda. Nitya Ananda means complete bliss. Okay. So we've looked at 20 verses so far. Verse 21 in book 3, Samadhipada, goes like this, where Patanjali says, Kaya Rupe Samyamat Tat Grahya Shakti Sthambe Chakshu Prakasha Asamprayogen Tardhanam. Right. So Kaya means body, right? Dhana, Teha. Rupa means form, as you know. Samyamat means the complete restraint from thoughts or the energy that the thoughts generate. Tat Grahya means that which what you see, your sensual perceptiveness, if you like. Shakti is, of course, power or potency or energy. Sthambe means it's neither here nor there. So it's like hanging in between, right? Chakshu is, of course, your eyesight, your vision. Prakasha means light. Asamprayoge means it is not connecting. There is no contact. And Antaradhanam means it can't be seen. That means it's invisible. So a transliteration of this verse basically means once you are able to completely restrain the thoughts or the energy that the thoughts produce, and the energy that your thoughts produce is somewhat, measuring in terms of your own body shape, your own body form, right? Whether it suspends, receives, or rejects energy, whether it assumes light or whether it rejects light, right? Ultimately, you have to merge with that light, and that vision is invisible, right? Prakasha samprayoge antaradhanam. That means once you merge with the light itself is invisible. You know that you have merged, but you can't see that. It's no longer within your visual perceptiveness. This, in normal language, when you look at some people, you say, isn't it? Oh, there's an aura around this person. So you can see light, right? And, many people have spoken about this, but there's even a camera that can capture people's aura, and different colors will tell you the different planes of conscious or subconscious or superconscious aura that a person may have. So yogis are similarly like this. Once they go to that last three stage, Trayi Sangama, that the last three, Dharana, Dhyana, and of course, if you do Dharana and Dhyana properly, then the end result is Samadhi. No secret about that. When you are hitting the right points in Dharana and Dhyana, your aura becomes much more potent, much more purified, and much more receptive. And it is not going to just receive anything. It will go and search for that which can give it a brighter light, prakasha. But that's what Maharaji Patanjali is saying here. He's saying the lack of contact between light and vision. You see, light and vision are two different things. You can have vision without the light, or there can be light and you don't have the vision, right? But where there is light and there is vision, that means there is sangama. Sangama means the coming together of these forces. And that light that comes from you and the light that is already existent. See, now if you look at the universe, you only see black. Maybe you see some stars, some lines here, that sort of, universal demography you can see. But you cannot see the bright shining prakasha that is the Parabrahman. What he's saying here, Patanjali Maharshi, is when you go deep into the, passages of dharana and dhyana, you will void everything else and you will only go in search of this light. And when you see this light, you merge with this light, and then the light becomes completely invisible. Sometimes we sit with a lot of people. Even if there was a great yogi in our midst, we will not know, because we do not have that same aura or light or energy that can recognize that energy. And that yogi will know, because he already is at that level where he can sense light. This is also something to do with, the energy vibrations. Some people you meet for the first time, you feel very comfortable with them. You feel very at home with them, isn't it? That is because of the energy they have. And some people refer to that as aura. Brother, you have a very nice aura. Sister, you have a very nice aura. So the aura and aura meet, right? But that is only external. For you to go in the Ashtanga Yoga, you go to the Dharana stage. That is where you are actually shining that light, so that the light voids everything else, becomes dark, but the light goes in search of the bigger and greater light with which it can merge. This is a fantastic verse which talks about the light in you and the light outside merging together, right? Through the practice of yoga. There you go. Right? Then 22, he explains further what he meant by what he said in 21. Ithena Shabtadi Antardhana Muktam, he's saying. Ithena means by this. And by this means he's referring to the preceding verse. Shabdadi means sound, Shabda Brahman, Nada Brahman, sound. Adi means that which has existed. Antardhanam, what you can't see, what is invisible, or what you cannot perceive. Ukta means that which I have said, or that which is described, or that which is stated, that which is meant. So he's saying by this method, sound and all other related sensual pursuits may be restrained. Once you restrain all these related sensual pursuits, including sound, then you can go into the non-perceptive world. So basically, complete detachment from all types of sensual energies. This means what? It means your thoughts must be so regulated that it switches off to all sensual sounds and sights and visions. Because the moment you see something, that sight, that vision will give rise to some other thoughts. Those thoughts will give rise to some energies. That energies will give rise to desires. Those desires will give rise to actions. Those actions will give rise to consequences. There you go. So, Patanjali is saying, switch off everything. You can. And that's why he's saying you can. Many have done it. Himself is one prime example. And remember, he is no ordinary person. He is Adishesha himself, right? Sent by Vishnu to go and tell the man what he can do. Go and tell humankind that the difference between Manusha and Purusha is the manas. Once that manas has got the requisite prakasha, then Manusha become Purusha. That's why there's a famous saying in the Rig Veda, say, Manushya Deva Rupena. It means all human beings are made in the image of God. But the problem is they remain at the level where they want to exercise human pursuits and disregard godly emergence. So yogis, once they get to the stage, they can actually they can elevate themselves from one level to another level, and then at that level to another level, from that level to another level, bit by bit, slow by slow, slowly and gradually they can do it. Slowly and gradually, 100%. Right? That's why he's saying, Ithena Shabdadi Antardhana Muktam. Right? This way, if you start to, maintain and restrain all the sound and related sensual pursuits, you will become sightless, soundless, feelingless, and there's only one pursuit that your mind will go for. That is the Parabrahma Jyoti. Right? It's like radio waves, isn't it? If you got this, olden days, you have the radios where you have to tune, and then you got two buttons. One is tuning, the other is fine tuning, right? So when you tune, you get a lot of disturbances, isn't it? And then when you go to the fine tune, you cut off all the other thing and you only listen to the stereo which you have been tuning, right? So the tuning, if I import that analogy into yoga, right? Then in the Ashtanga Yoga, the 5 stages is the first 5, Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, and Pratyahara. This is tuning, radio waves, tune to the right station. Once you reach that station, still there are disturbances, then you go into the fine tuning button and you tune to dharana, then you tune to dhyana, then you're in tune already. No need to tune. No, you cannot find samadhi. Samadhi is the end result. It is actually the result of a complete procurement of dharana and dhyana. 100% that will result. Okay. So as I said to you last week, remember I said you can sit on a train, you can sit on a bus, it can be so noisy, but you can completely shut down all the noise. It's a technique, right? You need to master the technique. And I've told you many times, I've tried it, it works, right? I'll just switch off when I get off into the trains, and then boom, when I open it's the station, the train is only pulling into the station where I need to get off. In between, you've gone somewhere, you are traveling, right? But it depends what you're seeking. You will go and find what you seek. So make sure you know what you're seeking, right? So yoga can elevate you or demote you from your stance. Then in the next verse 23 is saying, Sopakramam nirupakramah chakarma tat samyayat aparanta jnanam aristebhyaha. Sopakramam means something that is working, operating. Nirupakramam means something that is dormant, something that's not working. Right? Cha means and. Karma, of course, you know what is karma. Samyamat means free from any restraint. That means complete freedom. Right? Aparanta means at the end. Once this stage is over, the next stage, right? So for example, at the end of life, there is death. What happens after death? So aparantaha. Jnana means knowledge. So the knowledge that you get post-death. Aristebhyaha means potency, right? So complete restraint, basically this verse means complete restraint, right? In relation to everything that is happening to you currently in your thoughts and the production of the energy of those thoughts, right? Either gives you knowledge to enter into the hereafter or stops you at that point from going beyond that, right? So, sometimes you go to a door, the door is locked. You don't have the key. No matter how much you want to go inside the door, you cannot because you don't have the key. So this verse is telling exactly that. Yoga can take you, right? If you do everything properly, yama properly, niyama properly, asana properly, pranayama properly, pratyahara properly, dharana properly, dhyana properly, then it will take you to samadhi. But if at some point where you are bouncing back between bhuloka and suvaloka, because you keep coming back to earth, no detachment, no, there's some attachment still, then it's like not having the key. You're at the door, but you can't enter because you don't have the key. The key is complete restraint. So from a yoga perspective, the key is complete restraint. That means your pancha indriyas don't work anymore. Sight, smell, sound, touch, speech. This must be completely restrained. This is fantastic. He's saying, how the yogi can actually increase these pancha indriyas to serve him in this bhuloka or completely restrain them so that he is propelled into the suvaloka and he can merge with the Supreme Parabrahman and become the light itself. Of course, there are some yogis who have a specific task to do. So they are the messengers who still come and go. And, some people talk about getting the vision of Agastya Rishi or getting the Rishi of, Vashishta, or these are called the Sapta Rishis, right? So sometimes they will come as and when needed, to push. Dharma samstavanathaya sambhavami yuge yuge. So they will come as messengers, not as avatars. They will come as messengers. Only Vishnu takes his avatar, as he has said many times before. Then Patanjali goes on to talk about in the next verse. He says, Maitriyadishu bhalani. Maitri means Maitra, means Mitra, as in Hindi, Mitra, friend, or friendliness. Maitri means friendliness. Maityadishu, adishu means certain qualities. Bhala means strength or power. So he says, when you have completely restrained these mental, emotional energies, mental, emotional energy is thoughts, chitta, okay, in relation to friendliness. I want you to look at the opposites attract concept here, right? He says, when you have completely restrained all your thoughts in relation to friendliness, you develop the power of being friendly to everything and everyone without condition. This is what, Swami often refers to as unconditional love. So here in verse 24, in the third book, he's saying, Maitriyadishu bhalani. He says, the moment you completely restrain the energy or the thoughts of friendliness, you beget the same power, right? So basically, when you detach yourself from something, you are already in control of that very thing. Somebody asked me once, hey, brother, why this Shiva? Shivaratri is coming, right? So I'm getting a lot of queries from a lot of people. Why is Shiva, and I've spoken about this many times as well. Why is Shiva sitting on a tiger? They say he killed the tiger and, he's sitting on the tiger. I said, no. When you see the picture of Shiva, right, sitting on the tiger skin, it's basically telling you Shiva has mastered all the animalistic qualities in him. Therefore, he's the master of all animals. Exactly what this verse is saying. The complete restraint of something gives you power over that very thing. Right? So you're no more attached to friends because you become, unconditionally friendly to everybody. Mitra, I'm your friend. One thing Krishna said to Arjuna, if you look at me as your friend, then I become your friend. If you look at me as God and keep me at a distance, then I become that God at a distance. How you treat me, not physically in your mind, is how I will appear or disappear. Finish. What a fantastic, it's just 2-3 words, right? Maitya Atishu Bhalani. But what a superb lesson there is. And then he goes on to say in the next verse, Baleshu Hasta Balani. Baleshu Hasti Balani. Hasti means elephant, right? He says, well, Baleshu means strength, Bhala, right? Hasti, as I said, is just elephant. And Adini means the same for other things, right? He said, by complete restraint of this mental, emotional energy called your thoughts in relation to strength. Some people say, I am weak. They become weak because they've accepted the thoughts that they are weak. So by virtue of those thoughts, they become weak. But here he's saying, Baleshu Hasti Bhaladini. The very moment you restrain your thought in relation to strength, you acquire that strength, even if it is the strength of the elephant you require. That's why sometimes you have seen how the weaker can fight and win over the much more stronger. Simple thing I give you. I've spoken about this at great length when I did Ramayana with you, right? Ravana was a great warrior. I mean, there is no match. 100% there is no match for Rama, right? Rama is 100% incomparable when it comes to all the strength and all the arts and shastras that Ravana has. That's why it's called Dashamastaka, 10 heads, one with 10 heads. 6 shastras, 4 Vedas, including the art of war. So he is a far more, what can I say, far more able and capacitated warrior than Rama, because Rama was just a normal man, right? Normal man without any of this. Of course, he had great gurus. He had Vashishta and he had Vishwamitra. That's a different thing, right? But why did he win? Because of this very. He was only focused on doing the right thing, dharma. And the very dharma has given him the strength that he required to vanquish someone who's far more powerful and invincible, actually. See, that's the thing I said. You have to be careful what you ask God, right? Because Ravana asked, after his 1,000 years tapasya and Brahma came, he said, I cannot be defeated by any deva, by any asura, by any mixture of deva or devi, So he was very clever. He put everything, no man, no God, no any animal, no mixture between God and animal, because Narasimha, no God in the form of Deva, no 2 gods mixing like, Brahma, Vishnu or Vishnu, Shiva, like that. No Devis mixing individually, collectively. Oh, the full list. The only thing he forgot to mention was man. Because he thought normal man, if gods cannot defeat him, normal man can't defeat him. So he excluded man. And that's why Rama was born as a normal, common man who had no idea, who did not have any inkling as to who he really was in his real life. That is Bhagavan Sri Vishnu. And he managed to win. Why? Because the very fact that he said, I am not going to lose, because my vision is only based on dharma, right? That very thought, that restraint of the thought of losing gave him the power of winning. So that's why they say, go with the right attitude, mental attitude, the moment you think you've lost, because that is the power of this, the power of your thoughts. So restrain the very thought that is going to give you the power, right? That means you have no more attachment to the thought. Right? You get up in the morning, you say, I'm sick, I'm sick, I'm sick. Yes, you'll become sick. But even if you're feeling a little bit sick and you say, I'm well, I'm well, I'm well, that power of being well will overcome and veto that sickness that is slowly encroaching into you, right? And this is how the yogis develop their powers, one by one, one at a time. You cannot suddenly overnight become, Mahayogi. You go slowly. That takes practice. Years and years and years and years of doing the same thing. You are where you are. You think just 1 month or 2 months or 3 months of doing yoga is suddenly going to propel you into heights of stratospheric yogiship? No. You must be realistic, right? You've suffered from a disease for 20 years. Just taking a medicine for 6 months is not going to cure you. Take it for 10 years, maybe, right? Yeah. So at least there must be some balance, isn't it, between what you are and what you do to stop or continuing to being what you are. The next one, he says, Pravarti, aloka nyasat sukshma vyavahita viprakrasta jnanam, right? Pravarti means activity, the decided activity, or the force of any activity, right? Aloka means supernatural, right? Nyasat means applying something. Sukshma means subtle. Vyavahita means that which you cannot see, concealed. Viprakrasta means remote. Jnanam means knowledge, right? So if you translate all this to one sentence, he says, once you get to that stage where you are able to completely, suppress all this visual, sound, feeling, you're able to stop, circumvent all this from impacting you, then that produces something, an energy, right? That energy takes you from the gross to the subtle. It takes you from what is concealed to what is or can be perceived, from what was remote to what is proximate. That's why this verse is saying that, right? That's why sometimes, in the modern, professional development things, they say think out of the box. If you step and you remain in the box, you will not be able to appreciate the boundaries that curtail you. But if you step out of the box and look at it, you can see what is stopping you, what is limiting you, what is curtailing you, what is circumventing you from breaking free. Right? Sometimes you need to sidestep to see what is going to happen. And yogis can do that because they have this natural insight, the power to look inside. Remember, I said you can even look what was, what is, and what is going to be, but you must get to that stage. That is why when you go to some people with this yogic vision, like one was the great Ramana Maharshi, he can just look at you and say, what's going to happen, right? That's because he was a yogi in his own right, right? You can see many things. If you want to see the energy in the form of Lord Shiva, then that will go and seek that energy. That energy will appear to you as Lord Shiva or whatever you are seeking. That's why I'm saying that energy, if you issue the command, it will go and look for that. So it depends what you want. If you're still stuck in the Satguna level, then your mind will go and seek those Satgunic representations. If you're at Nirguna level, then you are beyond forms, then you are looking at the energies. And the energies, once you master that energy, that can give you shape or form at will. At will means you can take any shape, any form, right? So, next verse he's talking about Bhuvana Jnanam Surye Samyamat. Bhuvana Jnana Surye Samyamat. Okay? Samyamat. Bhuvana means the solar system. Bhuvanam, Bhuvanaloka, Bhuloka, Bhuvaloka, Suvaloka, like that. Bhuvana means the solar system. Jnana means knowledge. Surya or Surye means the sun, right? Samyamat means complete abstain from this mental, emotional energy, which I said to you is your thoughts, chitta, okay? From the complete restraint of all these thoughts in relation to the sun, knowledge of the solar system is gained. You know what they're trying to do here? What Patanjali Maharishi is trying to do is, if you focus on only one thing, you will only get that one thing. But if you completely restrain from focusing on that one thing, you get everything. How wonderful, right? This was a test conducted in a school in America a long time ago, right? Where they put some kids together, right? And they said, they put a bar of chocolate and an entire bowl filled with chocolates, right? And they said they put 10 children in there. And they said to each child, right? If you can stay for 40 minutes without taking the chocolate bar, then you have the bowl. But if you want to eat, you can eat that chocolate bar now. That one chocolate bar you can eat, right? Some kids waited for 3 minutes, 4 minutes. Some just went and took that one chocolate, ate and went away. But there was one person, right? One child, this little girl, just waited 45 minutes. After that, the teacher came and said, very well done. You have managed to control your desires, as a result of which, instead of walking away with just one chocolate, you have earned yourself the entire bowl. So when you restrain your want of one thing, you get everything else. Exactly. Bhuvanajnanam Surye Samyamat. So you get the entire knowledge of the solar system when you stop just focusing on the sun or the powers of the sun. How fantastic is that? So if you draw a jurisdiction, within that jurisdiction, you will hover. But if you forget that is only a jurisdiction and you don't want to have anything to do with that, then that limitations disappear, and that is part of the entire universe that you get. Oh, fantastic, right? In life, we can easily apply this as well, you know. That's why Krishna told Arjuna, hey, Arjuna, you want to be a yogi, then you must behave like a yogi in physical, mental, and your universal self. Otherwise, you're not going to know, because the yogis, they know what to do at which point in time and why they did need to do that. So he says, Yatra kale tvana vrittim avrittim chaiva yoginaha. He says, when the time comes, the yogis know what to do in order to push themselves to the next stage, and then avrittim, they will know what to do there in order to go further. That is the type of yogic siddhic powers that you need to develop. Just wanting it is not enough. This Krishna to Arjuna in chapter 2 is telling him this, you know. Then Patanjali goes on to say, Chandra Tara Bhyukyanam. Chandra means moon. You know, earlier he's talking about the sun. Here he's talking about Chandra, Tara, Vyuha, Jnanam. 4 words he's saying. Chandra, Tara, Vyuha, Jnanam. So Chandra is moon, right? Tara is the sun, stars. Vyuha is the system, and Jnanam is the knowledge. So he's saying, when you stop focusing only on Chandra, the moon, or only on Tara, the stars, or on the system, the Vyuha, you get complete knowledge of everything. Isn't it? If you focus on one thing, only that one thing gets. But if you said, I don't want this one thing, then everything comes. So you go beyond jurisdiction. Either you draw limitations for yourself or you rid yourself of these limitations. The choice is absolutely yours. No one can come and put limitations for you. No one can come and remove those limitations for you. If you want to be, if you are aspiring to go down the path of yoga, then you have to ensure that you are ridding yourself of all limitations that stop you from progressing. No one else can do it. A teacher can only teach you. If I'm a maths teacher, I can teach my students how to do the maths. I can teach them the formula, but they need to do and practice in order for them to master the formula and gain that knowledge. Teacher cannot be there all the time, right? So he's saying, that's why even in Purusha Suktam it says us, Chandrama manaso jataha chaksho suryo ajayatha mukha indrascha agnischa pranar vayurajayatha. Everything is related to the cosmos. Chandrama manaso jataha. That means they said your mind is governed by Chandra. Chaksho suryo ajayatha. Means your eyesight, your vision is the sun. Mukha indrascha agnischa. Your face is the resplendent of the energy of Indra and Agni. Right? Pranar vayurajayatha. Prana is Vayu. So everything is connected, Pancha Indriya to Pancha Kosha to Pancha Bhuta. All three are connected. So here he's saying the same thing. What he said. The first thing he said, if you manage to get over the concept of friendliness, you become universally friendly. Then he said, if you manage to suppress the thought of strength, you become most powerful, most strong. Then he says, if you focus on the strength of the sun, you only get the strength of the sun. But if you say, even that I don't want, then you get the strength of everything. Same here he's saying, don't focus on just the moon or the stars or the universal system if you want the entire knowledge. Dhruve tat gati jnanam. Next one he's talking about Dhruve tat gati jnanam. Dhruve, is the pole stars, right? And that is why, even in the sampradaya during marriage, one of the steps that they do is after the bride and groom do the going 4 times around the havan or the homa, then they take the Shaptapadi, the 7 steps, and then they come to a stage where the priest is showing them the Dhruve, the North Pole star, where the Rishi is there, and that is, you should never be, you should be joined together as man and wife and should never be depart as the constellation, the North Star constellation. So Dhruve means pole star. Tat means that. Gati means the end result. Jnanam means knowledge. So again, here he's saying by the complete restraint, by the complete control of your thoughts in relation to the North Pole or the South Pole or the planetary effect or the stars, you get the knowledge of the entire planetary cosmos effect. Right? But why do you want to go to these higher astral levels if you still very much, attached to your life on earth? So again, you need to decide whether the time is right for you to go into these things, because if you really progress, then the consequence of that progress is the complete detachment from your life here. So if you are married, you've got young children and all that, it's not the right time to do it. Must make sure that, because you're always thinking, one of the thoughts, we're talking about how powerful your thoughts are, right? So you cannot be wanting to merge with God at the same time thinking, oh, what will happen to my wife? What will happen to my children? What will happen? What will happen? What will happen? You will never progress. Because remember, you are governed by those thoughts. So you will not get over those thoughts. And this is what he's been saying the last few verses. That which you focus on is what you will get. That which does not matter to you at all anymore, then you'll get all the knowledge thereafter. Because you have not drawn any limitations in terms of the attraction. The attractor factor has no limits, right? Nabi chakre kayat vyuham yanam. Right? This is the next one he's talking about. Nabi means your navel. Chakre means, of course, chakras, right? Chakras. Energy producing, energy gyrating place or center. Kaya, as I said earlier, is a body. Vyuha means arrangement. Jnanam means knowledge. Right? Basically, he's saying, by completely controlling or completely restraining the mental, emotional energy or controlling your thoughts in relation to focusing on your navel chakra, that means your Mooladhara chakra, the yogi gets knowledge about the entire chakra system of his body, right? You see, this is where you talk about Kundalini Shakti, right? And you've got 7 chakras. And I've given you one session on chakras purely. I mean, it's there on the YouTube channel. You can go and see, right? Told you what these chakras are, how to activate them, what is the mantras for them, who's the presiding deity for each of the chakras. And of course, for the Mooladhara chakra is Ganapati, right? Right? If you look at the Ganapati Adarva Shirsham, it clearly says he is the presiding deity. Tvam Mooladhara stithosi nityam tvam shaktitrayatmakaha tvam yogino dhyayanti nityam. He says you are the presiding deity of the Mooladhara chakra. But if you only focus on the Mooladhara, this is talking about Dhyana Yoga, right? I'm not talking about chakras. I'm talking about yoga where you are focusing only on the Mooladhara. Then you will get the complete knowledge of the yogas related to the Mooladhara chakra. But he says, if you don't focus on just the Mooladhara, but you focus on chakra in the form of mind and body, then you get the entire knowledge of how the chakras work in your body. And you go zoop, 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 right? The Sahasrara chakra. So he's again talking about limiting here, right? Talking about limiting here. Okay. And he's limiting your own energy source, limiting your own powers, and how you can just grow, if you don't limit. Then the next verse he's talking about Kanta kupe shutpipasa nivriti. Kanta means kanta, they say kanta kupe shutpipasa nivriti. Kanta is the throat. Kupe means the gullet, the long pipe, if you like, the esophagus, okay, that one. And then shut means hunger, pipasa means thirst, nivriti means vritti is active, nivriti means inactive, cessation or suppression, right? You think of food, you become hungry, isn't it? You think of you're thirsty, you become thirsty. Now here he's saying kanta kupe shutpipasa nivriti. He's saying by complete restraint of the thought of being hungry, you become hungerless. You suppress hunger by completely focusing, right, on the gullet. You become thirstless. That's why the sadhus and the yogis who are meditating can meditate for hundreds of years because they have gone beyond the flesh. If you're still in the flesh, then you will experience all the sensual needs of that flesh. That's hunger, thirst, all your other needs, procurement needs. This is Hatha Yoga. It's another area of yoga, which is basically where they teach you how to regulate your breathing in order to suppress hunger and in order to suppress thirst, right? And it works, it really works. I can share one personal experience with you when I was a student up in Sheffield. I didn't have money to pay for heating, gas bills. So my house was very, very cold. And what I used to do is I used to sit in meditation, right? I'm going back 1990, 1991, that time, yeah, many years ago. And I just used to meditate and say the name Ram. I'll say it about 300 times or 400 times. Om Ram, Shri Ram, Shri Ram. After about half an hour to 45 minutes, I will feel so hot that I will even sweat. Exactly. I didn't know that I was already practicing at that time. I was completely ignorant. I just read somewhere they say if you meditate, you increase the vibrations of your inner self where the heat will come out. So I said, okay, let me try, and I tried it. And after that, each time I just, if I wanted to feel warm, if I was getting cold, I just focused on heat. So the cold never bothered me. So it is very, 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 very possible, right? Focus and commitment must be there. If while you're doing, you think, oh, still cold is still cold, that means you haven't detached your thought from the cold. That means you will master the cold. If you focus on the heat and continue focusing on the heat, then you master the heat. If you say the surrounding does not bother me and focus on that, then cold or heat does not bother you at all. You understand? This is what he's saying, right? Kanta kupe shutpi pasa vyajnanam, nivritti. So you can, right? And he says you can focus on your chakras one by one and develop, or focus on the concept of chakras and develop, universally. But you cannot, say, I want to focus only on the Sahasrara. Once I focus on the Sahasrara, every other chakra becomes activated. No. Chakra, science of chakra says you must start at the Mooladhara and move, right? Upwards. Mooladhara, then Sudhisthana, then Anahata, then Manipura, then Vishuddhi, then Ajna, then Sahasrara, 7. Then you can, one by one, right? Otherwise, it becomes difficult, So, and then he's talking in the next one, is even more important. He's saying, Kurma Nadhyam Stairyam. Kurma means what? Kurma means tortoise, Kurma avatar. Kurma is also known as a nadi. I just spoke to you about the chakra, right? So the first chakra is Mooladhana. The second chakra is Swadhisthana, One is at the base, the other is just near your navel, right? So in between this, there is the nerve. This nerve is called Kurma Nadi. Kurma Nadi, right? Even I did chakras with you also, I spoke about the 3 principal nadis, yeah? Ida, Pingala, and Shushumna, and how they coil, they coil around your spine all the way up. So this Kurma, Kurma Nadhyam Stairyam, that means a particular nerve or nadi, when is focused on, gives you steadiness of your entire psyche, your entire form, complete restraint by the control of all energies, focusing on nadis generically, you become, a master of your own psyche. And of course, going into samadhi. All this is basically telling you when you become more knowledgeable and more knowledgeable and knowledgeable, and you're not restrained by physical limitations of the subject matter of your thoughts, then you can merge easily. When you merge, there must be no limitations. There must be nothing hold you back. You're completely free. Not a single thought exists. This is what they say, by complete restraint of any mental, emotional energy, your thoughts. And yes, complete freedom is there. Right? And the next one he's saying, Murda Jyotishi Siddha Darshanam. Murda Jyotishi Siddha Darshanam. Basically, Murdha means head. Jyotishi means light that is shining, right? Siddha means perfected science, or perfected person, or perfected body, or perfected being. And Darshana means view, right? Darshan, view. We say there are 3 things: darshan, sparshan, and sambharshan, right? By complete restraint of the mental, emotional energy or your thoughts, where you are not focusing on the entire universe, which is dark, right? The practice of that will push you into light. If you focus on the light, then you become master of the light, but you may be put in darkness. But it's saying focus on the darkness so that the entire darkness is eradicated and you're propelled into light. So opposites attract, right? By completely restraining the thoughts of shining light in your head. He's saying the yogi gets a view, darshan, of the perfected beings who are all shining lights, shining lights. That is why you see in movies, everything, right? When they picture God or when they picture something spiritual, it is always a white light that is coming, right? And that's not imagination. That's from all the, almanacs and all the literature that is around, right? If you look at a light bulb, you see only a thin filament, right? But then it grows and grows and grows and it becomes so bright. But if you focus on the filament, you only see the filament. And you go beyond the filament that's giving the light, does not exist anymore, but you only see the light. This is exactly what Patanjali is saying. Focus on the right thing so you get everything. If you focus only on one thing, then everything else becomes suppressed, right? So he's saying, Pratibhat vat sarvam. Pratibhat means resulting from the samyama or the control of the three stages, right? Come together, right? Dharana, dhyana, and samadhi. You get everything else by complete restraint of the mental, emotional energy or your thoughts, where you're focusing on becoming divine. Then that very thought will put you in that space for a long time. But you don't focus on that. You focus on the ultimate. Then that breaks the limitations and pushes you into the ability of all-knowing reality, right? Pratibha, the Brahmananda development in your head. Brahmanandam Paramasukam, So when you get to that stage where you are merging with Brahma, there is no greater joy or bliss. Paramasukhadam, you get. And then you can picture the light, or you can picture Brahma, you can picture Vishnu, you can picture Shiva. But at the end of the day, you should go beyond those figures, right? Go beyond those figures. And you will see those things. Okay. So all this while I've been telling you of one or another mudra. So let me just remind you of what your hand represents, right? Before I conclude today's session, right? The relationship between your body and your hand and everything around you, right? Your sense organs, sense perception, organic perceptions, all of that. So your 5 fingers, right? 5 fingers. This is called Ankushtabhyam, right? Ankushtam. This is the second middle finger is called Tarjani. So even when you're doing the cleansing part in the puja, we say Ankushtabhyam Namaha. Tarjanibhyastham Namaha. Middle finger is called Madhyama. Madhyamabhyam Namaha. Right? Anamika is the ring finger. And Kanishka. Kanishtakabhyam Namaha. Like that, right? So Ankushtam, your thumb, represents fire, Agni. Tarjani, the second finger, index finger, represents Vayu or air. Madhyama, the middle finger, represents sky or Akasha, space, right? The 4th finger represents water, right? Water is Apo or Jalam, right? And the 5th Kanishka, little finger, represents Pravritti, right? Earth, Bhuloka, Bhu, element. So whenever you do mudras with your hand, you are actually trying to balance your bodily sense organs, your sense of perceptions, your sense of, all your energies, together with the Panchakoshas to merge with the Panchabhutas. So today, the mudra I want to teach you is called Brahma Mudra. Brahma Mudra. Very simple. You take your thumb, you put inside. That means the tip of your thumb should touch the base of your middle finger, right? Your Ankushtam should touch the base of or towards the base of your Madhyama. So it's here, the middle finger. It's there. And then all you do is you just close this palm. And you do the same here. You bring this to the middle finger, at the base of the middle finger, and you close, right? And the middle 2 fingers are connecting. You see the top one, there is no connection here. And the bottom one, the last finger, there is no connection. You are only connecting both your middle finger and your ring finger are touching each other like this. You're bringing them together to your heart, right? And breathing in. But all the time you're holding your thumb, right? Like this, holding your thumb there. Simple. Okay. Holding it near your heart chakra and breathing maybe for 10-15 minutes in, out. So as you breathe in, hum as you breathe out. The effect of this, when done daily, like you do twice, once in the morning, once in the night. You can even do it in the middle of the day if you want, right? Just as a rejuvenator, right? It calms the mind. Calms the mind. It improves your thought process. It improves your thought process means it makes it more regulated. You know, you are in control of your thoughts. You don't let it slip. You don't let it slip. You don't let it slip. It doesn't travel without your consent, without your permission. And it improves your memory. It reduces, what we call fatigue, tiredness in your body. It reduces that. And obviously the collective result or the cumulative result of that is you feel peace of mind. When you feel peace of mind, it generates positive energy. Right? It generates positive energy means it expels all the negative energy, and the end result is there is a mind-body balance. Remember, I said yoga is mind, body, and only spirit. So first you have to control the mind, then the body, then the spirit. Right? That's why asana, the bodily postures, come in the third stage. First yama, moral observances, then niyama, spiritual observances. Then only, once the mind is controlled, then only you go to Padmasana, Bhadrasana, Triyangasana, all these positions. Once you get that position, then pranayama, then concentration, pratyahara, then dharana, which is complete one single pointed devotion, then dhyana, meditation. Then only meditation comes when you've gone through each one of this. Right? After bhajans, just sitting for 10 minutes doesn't take you anywhere. Right? It doesn't. If it does, tell me, then I'll come to your bhajan center. You could go somewhere. Anyada sharanam nasti tvameva sharanam mamaha tasmad karunya bhavena raksha yogishvaraha. Hari Om Tat Sat. Sai Ram.